Tonight, no wind in the crisis crippling airports, with Congress in a shutdown stalemate. Lawmakers get out of town for their spring break with no deal to fund DHS and pay TSA workers. Americans furious.
This is not the way people want government to be involved in their life. So
I'm Allie Bauman at Kennedy Airport. It is another busy travel weekend with no end to the wait times at airports or travelers' frustrations.
Also tonight, no Kings protests, rallies from coast to coast.
I'm Cristian Benavides in Florida. Millions of Americans are expected to attend No Kings rallies across the country, including here in President Trump's backyard.
1 month of war, new strikes in Iran.
I'm Holly Williams in Tel Aviv. U.S. officials say 10 more American service members were injured Friday by an Iranian strike.
The ripple effects around the world and in the heartland.
I'm Lana Zach in Vinton, Iowa. Farmers are preparing for the upcoming planting season. Why the war may be driving growers into the red and pushing up prices on nearly everything.
Tiger in turmoil.
I'm Nicole Valdez outside the Martin County Jail in Stuart, Florida. Tiger Woods is out on bail after being charged with DUI. His comeback plans now in doubt.
All that plus the Great Poppy Project.
I'm Joy Benedict in Pasadena, California, where volunteers are spreading seeds of hope in the burn scars of Southern California.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York with Jerika Duncan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Saturday. Tonight, American travelers frustrated by long security lines at many of the nation's airports may not see relief anytime soon. TSA officers who have worked without pay for 42 days are expected to see checks again next week after President Trump's executive order. Still, though, staffing shortages and worker departures could keep wait times for travelers elevated. But lawmakers in Washington are on the move. They left the Capitol after House Republicans rebelled against a Senate deal to end the DHS funding standoff. CBS's Allie Bauman is at New York's JFK Airport and leads us off tonight. Allie.
Jerika, typically we would be talking to you from inside the airport right now, but because of how busy it is today, we're actually not allowed to bring our cameras inside. Security lines at airports across the country are stuck in gridlock, and so is Congress, which failed again last night to strike a deal that would end the shutdown.
I'm like 4 hours early right now, just in case, which I'm never 4 hours early unless I'm with my wife.
With long lines for TSA stretching into another week at airports across the country, the patience of travelers like McKee Mason is wearing thin.
Like whatever y'all's petty arguments are, it's not really relevant to us. And this is not the way people want government to be involved in their lives.
Lines have been so long in Houston, this flyer packed as lunch.
Oranges, snacks, hummus and chips, and a thermos of coffee.
Also traveling this weekend, members of Congress who left Capitol Hill Friday night for a 2-week recess without passing a funding bill for TSA and the rest of the Department of Homeland Security.
So they're going home for their 2-week recess so they can go collect their golden Easter eggs and all their extra little campaign contributions while my kids aren't going to have anything in their Easter eggs, okay?
Johnny Jones is a 24-year veteran of the TSA and a union official in Dallas. He's seen several shutdowns, and as he sees coworkers relying on food banks and donations, wonders why this keeps happening.
I have my blood pressures up. I can't sleep at night because I'm worried about everybody. This is a ridiculous scenario, and these politicians have failed us.
And Jones says even if those promised checks come on Monday, it still won't be enough to make up for all the late fees that he and his colleagues have incurred from weeks of missed payments. Jerika?
Allie Bauman, thank you. Today, protesters across this country took to the streets as part of the latest No Kings demonstration against President Trump and his administration. Among the biggest rallies right there in St. Paul, Minnesota, outside the state capitol. CBS's Cristian Benavides is in West Palm Beach, Florida, near the president's home. Cristian.
Jerika, this is the third round of No Kings protests. Organizers say that they expect these crowds to be the largest. And in that Minnesota rally, officials there prepared for a crowd of over 150,000 people.
President Trump spent the day at his Florida golf course.
While Americans gathered at more than 3,000 No Kings protests around the country.
He promised no new wars. He promised to be the America First president, and this sure does not look like that.
Protests were also held worldwide, including in Rome, Madrid, and Paris. The White House has dubbed the rallies Trump derangement therapy sessions.
This is not a mental therapy. This is showing them that we can be strong and we can have democracy again.
Among the largest crowds in Minnesota, where immigration enforcement reached a flashpoint earlier this year.
With everything that's going on, I feel powerless, and today, in this moment, I feel like I do have a little bit of power.
The rallies come as the president says he is looking to wind down the war with Iran. On Friday, he spoke at a Saudi-backed investment conference and again voiced his disappointment with NATO allies for not helping reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
They have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
The president also made these comments about Cuba as the island teeters on the brink of collapse due to decades-long government neglect made worse by the recent cutoff of oil.
Cuba's next, by the way, but pretend I didn't say that.
In its statement, the White House said that the only people who care about these rallies, aside from the protesters, are the reporters who are paid to cover them. Jerika.
Christian Benavides, thank you. Now to the Middle East. Tonight, the Iran-backed militant group, the Houthis, in Yemen entered the widening conflict. They launched an unsuccessful missile attack on Israel. 2,500 American Marines arrived in the region today. They're on board with the USS Tripoli, along with 2,500 sailors. CBS's Holly Williams is in Tel Aviv with more on that part of the story. Holly.
Good evening, Jerika. We have more American casualties in a war that's now a month old. 10 American service members were injured yesterday by an Iranian strike on a base in Saudi Arabia, according to U.S. officials. 2 of them very seriously.
They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal.
President Trump repeated his claim last night that Iran's leaders are eager to negotiate an end to the war. But Iran has said it's rejected an American ceasefire plan and won't negotiate. Even as the country's pummeled by American and Israeli airstrikes, Iran's leaders are wielding an economic weapon that gives them bargaining power. With strikes and the threat of mines, Iran has effectively paralyzed traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, which normally carries around 20% of the world's oil. It's sent energy prices soaring and piled pressure on Trump to end the war. If the president can't reach a deal with Iran, he could stop the war unilaterally. But that would leave the Iranian regime with around 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched to 60% and the ability to rebuild its nuclear and missile programs.
We are not going to give it up, not going to give we don't have a flexibility here.
Retired General Yaakov Amadror is Israel's former national security advisor.
President Trump is under a lot of pressure to end the war. If the war ends soon, will that be too soon from Israel's perspective?
If the enriched uranium will not be taken out in the agreement that will be reached between the Americans and the Iranians, the answer is yes.
Jerika, Germany's foreign minister said that he expects representatives from Iran and the US to meet for face-to-face talks in Pakistan in the very near future.
Holly Williams in Tel Aviv. Well, tonight, the war's ripple effects being felt in American homes and businesses. Gas prices now average $3.97 a gallon nationwide. That is up $1 in a month and the largest 4-week increase in 30 years. It's not just gas prices being driven up by the war. CBS's Lana Zach in Vinton, Iowa tonight with new reporting from America's Heartland. Lana.
Good evening, Jerika. Farmers here in Iowa and across the country are facing mounting financial strain as the price of diesel up nearly $2 since the start of the war and fertilizer scarcity are impacting spring planting.
Lance Lillibridge, who has been farming his whole life, says he is worried for this year's spring planting.
It couldn't have come at a worse time.
The war with Iran has led to skyrocketing diesel and fertilizer prices. Prices, Lillibridge says, that are piling onto an already struggling industry.
And it just feels like the world's trying to take this all away from us right now.
2 fertilizer ingredients seeing disruptions, ammonia and urea, up around 20 and 50%. Diesel up nearly 45%.
The situation is not driven by either the person producing the food or the person buying it. And it will have significant ramifications for both those who produce our food and for those who eat it.
Higher oil and gas prices have hurt the major stock indices, and now Americans could feel it at the register.
It really impacts the cost of every step of the process, all the way from seed all the way through to finished product, which affects the price when it gets to your grocery store.
Lillibridge's costs have already increased 25% since last year, and he says the situation needs to resolve now before more damage is done.
If our kids see us struggling out here, why would they want to take it on?
Now, farmers had hoped to compensate for last year's losses when farm bankruptcies increased for the second year in a row, up 46% since 2024. Unfortunately, the ongoing war is only adding to the uncertainty here. Jerika.
Lana Zach reporting from Iowa tonight. Well, there's no sign of Tiger Woods. He has not been seen in the public since being released last night after his DUI arrest. CBS's Nicole Valdez is outside the jail in Stuart, Florida, with more on the latest setback for the golf great.
Good evening, Jerika. Tonight, Tiger Woods is charged with driving under the influence after yet another crash and new questions about what comes next. This is the booking photo taken of the 50-year-old golfing legend just hours after authorities say Woods was speeding on a residential road, clipped the back of a truck, and rolled his Land Rover. Woods had to crawl out. Officials on the scene say Woods seemed lethargic and showed signs of impairment.
Mr. Woods did a breathalyzer test, blew triple zeros, but when it came time for us to ask for a urinalysis test, he refused, and so he's been charged with DUI, with property damage, and refusal to submit to a lawful test.
No one was hurt in this crash, but Woods has been involved in multiple vehicle crashes over the years. In 2021, he nearly had his leg amputated after he rolled an SUV multiple times outside Los Angeles. This latest crash only adds to the complicated legacy for the 15-time champion golfer Jerika. Before the crash, he was trying to decide if he was fit enough to play in the Masters, which starts in just 2 weeks.
Nicole Valdez from Stuart, Florida, thank you. Now to the big melt this weekend. Deer Valley is the latest ski resort to suddenly end its season. That's nearly a month ahead of schedule. CBS News meteorologist Andrew Kozak is tracking all of the weather extremes. Andrew.
Yeah, Jerika, blame the heat and the wind and the lack of relative humidity. It has been so dry, and all of that is the reason why so many areas like Deer Valley have had such a short season. In fact, this was one of the shortest seasons in operation, 44 years. Record low snowfall should have 200 inches, only 144 this season. Also didn't help that temperatures were often above 70 degrees. And while we continue to see fire danger, that's the color coding you see here, across the Rockies and the Midwest, we're also tonight tracking a little bit of that across the south. Very dry. Here's some good news. It will get a little bit more on the moist side as we get into the day tomorrow. That's going to help the southeast, but we are also watching more critical fire danger for places like Wyoming into your Sunday and beyond. Hot temperatures continue for the desert southwest Sunday and Monday. Maybe not nearly as dramatic, but is still going to be well above average. And by the way, if you're looking for the tides to turn a bit, we can't turn the heat off out west, but Jerika, we're tracking above average temperatures headed into the beginning of April, and that'll mean a warm-up for the east.
Andrew Kozak, thank you. Tonight, the so-called quad god is back on top of the world, literally. Ilya Malinin has won the men's figure skating world championship title in Prague. It's his third title in a row. The 21-year-old's victory comes after that disastrous performance at the Winter Olympics. Still to come, news about a key defense witness in the O.J. Simpson trial. But first, this story.
I'm Mark Strassman. The Artemis II crew has arrived here at the Kennedy Space Center for their moonshot that could come as soon as next Wednesday. That's coming up on the CBS Weekend News.
Tonight, the 322-foot rocket set to launch Artemis II stands ready on the pad at the Kennedy Space Center. It's set for liftoff Wednesday on the first crewed moonshot in more than a half-century. CBS's Mark Strassman is there for all the excitement with more on the mission. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Jerika. With this launch, NASA will link the words astronaut and moonshot for the first time since 1972 and Apollo 17. This new era for NASA is starting to feel very real around here.
Hey, let's go to the moon!
Ask Commander Reed Wiseman here in Florida. Excitement is in the air because the Artemis II crew is now on the ground. Come this Wednesday, April 1st, NASA could launch a new generation of lunar explorers. What should be the expectations for this mission?
April 1st is not a guarantee. We got to go feel this whole thing out. The rocket is ready. We are ready. NASA is ready.
Ready for Artemis II and its Orion capsule's 9-day test flight, a 500,000-mile round trip. The crew of 4 will never land on the moon, but loop around its far side, then return to Earth for a splashdown off the San Diego coast. Jeff Radigan, the mission's lead flight director, defined for us what success means for this test flight.
Success of the mission, honestly, is getting the crew past the moon and home. To be fully successful, we need to get the crew to the moon.
That's the standard.
That's the standard.
It's go for the gold.
We need to complete this mission. There's really no signposts. There's nobody to check your work. There's no one you can say, hey, did I get this answer right? We just have to have confidence that we did the work correctly.
Artemis II's moonshot aims to prepare NASA for an eventual moon landing. That will be Artemis 4, scheduled for early 2028.
That is what we were here for. How do we get our friends on the surface of the moon as fast as humanly possible and as safely as humanly possible?
The crew's makeup will involve a series of firsts: going to the moon for the first time, a black astronaut, a female astronaut, and a non-American astronaut, a Canadian. In many ways, Jerika, the Apollo era and the Artemis era will feel very, very different.
All those firsts on the first, hopefully. Mark Strassman, thank you. Still ahead on the CBS Weekend News, the Pope makes an historic visit to a very small place. Stay with us. A lot to celebrate today, an historic visit to Monaco by Pope Leo. He is the first pontiff in 5 centuries to visit the devoutly Catholic nation. And fun fact, it's the world's second smallest country after Vatican City. Dr. Henry Lee has died. If his name isn't familiar, you may remember his testimony. The renowned forensic scientist testified for O.J. Simpson's defense. Lee is credited with helping the jury acquit Simpson in his 1995 double murder trial. Lee died at home in Henderson, Nevada. He was 87. Up next, our weekend journal and seeds of hope. How a community scarred by fire is blooming again. But first, a look back at this day in history.
The Ed Sullivan Show. And here's Ed Sullivan.
A government official said that a breakdown in an atomic power plant in Pennsylvania today is probably the worst nuclear reactor accident to date.
Finally tonight, sowing seeds of hope and fields of poppies is bringing a new life to a community that has lost so much. CBS's Joy Benedict has that story in our Weekend Journal.
And here we go.
It's a wild idea that is spreading. Renee Amy walking the empty lots of the Eaton fire burn scar in Altadena, California, scattering a little seed, hoping for a lot of growth in a community that lost so much.
Ugh.
He's calling it the Great Altadena Poppy Project.
100 years ago, Altadena was covered with California poppies. And here's a great opportunity to bring some of that beauty, that natural beauty, back to this community.
With so many lots empty, he's scooping and sifting 130 million poppy seeds. For him, it started as a personal quest.
I lost my house and everything I'd ever owned.
It's been more than a year since his home burned to the ground. His lot still sits empty. So Amy decided to plant California state flower on his own property. He then offered to sow for his neighbors, and the idea bloomed. Pasadena's Art Center College of Design organized a poppy planting event to help. 100 volunteers showed up.
Don't do it.
The poppy has long since been a symbol of remembrance. Seen on the battlefields after World War I, the flower is known to grow in the harshest soil. And in this case, on the lots with the most heartbreak.
I would just want to see color in the area. I want to see life brought back to the area.
But it's not just a local push to popify. In fact, volunteers are putting seeds in these little packets and mailing out thousands all over the country in hopes that people join them.
Once these all start blooming, I think it's really going to warm people's hearts.
From wildfires to wildflowers, replacing the destruction with a blooming field of dreams. Joy Benedict, CBS News, Altadena, California.
What a great idea. Well, that is the CBS Weekend News for this Saturday. I'm Jerika Duncan in New York. We thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night.